Yo, peace and love, fam. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. And if you're not, I hope it gets better for you ASAP. I mean that. Today's video, we're going to talk about the most dangerous voice in your head, which is your shadow, your ego, not always showing up as some destructive force, anger, chaos, right? Oftentimes it's very subtle and much more dangerous than that. What I learned is that is often that calm voice, that calm, familiar voice, right? Telling you to wait and to stay comfortable and convince you to play it safe. That playing it safe is the smartest move that you can make. And of course we want to be responsible. Of course we want to handle our business. Of course we want to be safe. But you've heard the quote saying you got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I didn't really know what that means until I started putting things into practice a long time ago, right? Every step of the way that I decided to make changes in my life, all the little milestones that I achieved, all the challenges that I overcame, it was an opportunity to get uncomfortable because I had to do something different in order to want to change my mind, my spirit, my physical health. And the physical is a big one because physical health will directly translate into pain, and that's definitely being uncomfortable. So that physical pain and championing yourself through it, getting through it, right? No pain, no gain. But then after that pain, after getting used to that pain, the muscles get used to the pain, and you begin to actually enjoy the hard work. It doesn't seem as hard anymore, right? So, and bear with me because I got some of these things written down. So when you step up to build your own kingdom, right, and you start breaking old patterns and you reclaim your sovereignty, right, your shadow gets terrified, your ego, right, because now you're breaking routines, and your ego, that negative part of yourself, is comfortable with those routines. That's why we keep on with the bad habits, right? It tells you that you're not ready, or that the timing is wrong, or to look backward instead of forward. Because again, the easiest thing to do is the same thing that we've been doing, which is, technically insanity. All right. We've all been insane. Some of us are insane, right? We've all gotten crazy with our habits. But if we want change, if we want true transformation, we have to face that shit head on. And we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's just the truth of the matter, as corny as it is. And it's going to test you and challenge you mentally, like a mofo, right? So the key thing here is that your shadow wants to play it safe, right? But safety is the graveyard of your own potential, and the brightest stars don't shine by staying in a safe, predictable sky. The brightest stars don't shine staying in a safe, predictable sky. And I had to come to the conclusion on my own that I'm not meant to be so dim. I was always meant to shine, and I was doing it to myself. All these years I was doing it to myself. All this time I was doing it to myself. It's not the world's fault. It's not people, society. Yes, there's interference with certain circumstances, but our responsibility to take care of our mind, body, and spirit rests solely on our shoulders. It's only our responsibility, and we can't change the world. We're not going to do much about that except changing ourselves, and then maybe the world will change as we change ourselves. We're definitely not going to change other people. And there are so many circumstances that are out of our control, right? But we can work on ourselves though. And when I started looking at it from that perspective, I started to gain a bigger sense of peace, because the one thing that I can control is what I choose to do, for the most part. What I choose to, as far as doing, right? Physical lifestyle activities, diet, right? Properly hydrating, skincare routines, choosing non-toxic products, getting to bed on time, managing stress, proactively managing stress, big one, right? So I can control my diet, lifestyle, hydration, sleep hygiene, stress management. Right? I can control those 5 things for the most part. And it gets easier to control as we build the foundation to be able to nurture that self-care. Right? So here's the exercise for today that we're all doing. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the biggest decision or move that we are currently hesitating on. Right? We're going to write down the logical reason as to why we are not acting on this big decision or move, right? It can be a physical act, the decision, something that needs to be done physically, or just something that needs to be decided upon, right? Like, I don't know, getting yourself to the gym, eating better, acting upon certain goals, establishing a financial roadmap, right? Maybe moving to another city or state, whatever it is. What is the logical reason as to why you are not acting upon this decision, right? And then you're going to cross it out. You're going to cross it out, and you're going to write down the real fear hiding underneath it. Because the logical reason, there's a lot of excuses attached to that. But the real fear, that is what we need to tackle. There may be some excuses to that too, and some valid ones. But we need to look at the real fear behind that logical reason. The real fear that we are not proactively acknowledging. We want to keep tucking aside, and we are definitely not proactively working towards solutions. We're going to face that fear, right? I had been putting off, let me share a little bit about me. I had been putting off for a long time. And some of it was because I wasn't sure of my path or direction. But that's my fault for not exploring and finding out. Once I started exploring, I was finding out. And with respect to exploring, one of the fears was losing my stability and comfortability, right? I was stable at my job. I was comfortable in my living situation. Even back when I had my my little private studio, right? So I was just going through the motions, and hey, I got a steady job. All I got to do is show up 5-6 days a week, my day off, do what I do, and rinse and repeat. And I wasted so much time working all those hours, 50, 60, 70, 80-hour weeks. I didn't I didn't figure out a life plan. I didn't pursue other opportunities, even opportunities that were offered to me. I was afraid of even going back to school, right? I was hesitant. It was all these fears. How am I going to get the money? How am I going to pay for this, etc.? Which a lot of it is BS. We can figure out a way. And even today, there's just a lot more ways to get financial funding or to optimize a financial roadmap to generate the income or save the money, you know, or plan for these expenses, plan for these investments. There are many sound ways to approach this. You don't have to make a $10,000 purchase instantly out of pocket by next week. Okay, we can plan for this. So a lot of these reasons, they're not, you know, they can often be silly in hindsight. I was afraid of putting myself out there into the world again, going back out there, interacting with people once again, which is my true nature, is to interact with people. It's what I love to do. Society has gotten very weird, right? As we all know. So I started getting bitter about that instead of embracing, like, wait, there's plenty of great people out there. And your vibe will attract your tribe, as corny as that sounds. Your vibe will attract those people that match your energy. Unfortunately, we have to filter through a lot of the bullshit, right? So I was afraid of, you know, breaking the routine of coming home from work, staying home, sleep, and repeat. And then I only went out to run my errands and shop for groceries, like I'm doing right now. I got comfortable with that. It was easier to just not deal with people. And I'm saying F all that. I got comfortable with not getting on planes and flying to visit my family back in the motherland, Dominican Republic. Right? I was born here, but my parents are from there. And that's always going to be home. But I was afraid of getting on a plane. That might sound silly. Some of you might laugh at that. I was afraid of getting on a plane that I didn't fly for 17 years. Because I had a job training, so I had to go to Florida. Then the following year, which was last year, well, actually 2 years later. So 16 years, I'm sorry, didn't get on a plane. I flew to Florida. 2 years later, Dominican Republic. I didn't go to Dominican Republic for 18 years, mainly because of a fear of flying and the high anxiety of navigating airports by myself. A grown adult in my 20s, afraid to navigate airports by myself, right? So that kept me stuck, and I didn't get to experience things that I needed to experience, and I missed out on opportunities and certain connections, certain business opportunities, job opportunities, etc. I'm no longer beating myself about this shit no more. Instead, I do the work to identify my weak points so that I can strengthen them and work with them, right? I'm no longer embracing life, worrying about beating myself up about what could have been and worrying too much about the things that I can't control. Instead, I'm moving forward and I'm adopting systems and I'm planning things. And yes, I'm also rolling with the punches and going with the flow. But remember that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Success in life, and mind you, I haven't reached success yet. I'm repeating what I heard from these successful people and from what I've been observing myself. First of all, success leaves clues. And second of all, these people didn't become a success overnight. It only seems that way because of all the work that they put in for months and years. And they planned for it. And they failed and failed and failed and failed so many times. But they kept restructuring, right? Reorganizing. And they didn't lose sight of the game plan and the vision and the mission, right? So I invite you, man, no more of the bullshit. No more of No more of talking negative about yourself. Feeling negative about yourself. Thinking negative about yourself. Having such low expectations about yourself. No more of that. Selling yourself short. Knowing that you're built for bigger and better opportunities. And giving yourself the opportunity to fail. Not being afraid to fail. Because another thing is that dangerous voice in our head will have us talking to ourselves. Beating down our self-esteem, stomping on our self-esteem because we're afraid to look stupid. We're afraid to be ridiculed. We're afraid about what other people think. And I'm saying F all that. Because at the end of the day, we have to do what we have to do. We all feel self-conscious about certain things. But if we stay self-conscious, we're never gonna shine. So if we're done letting that false sense of safety dictate our lives, lock in and subscribe to the shining ones, because we're gonna peel back the curtains, right, on everything that's holding us back. We're gonna peel back those layers on everything that's holding us back. I'm right here with you. I'm growing at the same time that you're growing. I'm telling you in real time my issues and my challenges and how I'm overcoming them and that they can be overcome. And we're here to help each other through it. See you on the deep end. Peace and love.